Hey guys, check this out. Beautiful Texas home-style chili. This is a bowl of chili that you're absolutely going to love. This recipe, it rocks. Wait till you try it. Hey guys, welcome back to Texas Cooking Today. Hey, on this episode, we're going to be making some chili. This is Texas home-style chili with beans. Folks, it's going to be delicious. Now, if you've tried my Texas red chili, you know I know how to make chili. But I wanted to give you something that was a little more tame than that. That chili can, well, it can peel paint, all right? This chili, a little more down to earth. The kids seem to like it a little bit better, and it has a lot more in it, so it can feed a lot more folks, okay? Now, I'm going to be making a big batch of chili. If you want, just simply cut this recipe in half, and it gets a little more reasonable for you. But this is going to be a big pot. So I'll tell you what, come on over. Let's look at these fabulous ingredients that we have here, and let's get busy making the best tasting chili that you'll ever eat in your life. Come on over, guys. Right now, if you'll notice, what we have is a fantastic array of ingredients. And starting here in the background, let's look at this. I've got a pot of pinto beans that I cooked up. Now, what I did is I took 1/2 pound of pintos, soaked them off, then cooked them up. They're nice and tender, they're ready to go. So I'm adding these to the chili. This isn't something you have to put in, but boy, I tell you what, a lot of people like their chili with beans, and those that do are really going to love this. So all I did is just cook up basic pintos, and I've salted this, but there's no other seasoning there. In addition, we've got some beef over here. Now, this recipe, the way I'm preparing it, calls for about 3 pounds of beef. So if you're going to be preparing, of course, your beans, and you're using a half recipe on this one, then you might consider 1.5 pounds of beef and a 1/4 pound of the pinto beans. Now, when I say 1/4 pound, I mean dried before you cook them. On to our next goodies here. We have these poblano chilies. Now, I want to say this. The poblano is wonderful. It has a flavor that's not totally dissimilar from the jalapeno, but it doesn't have the heat of the jalapeno. It's much, much milder. It has fabulous flavor. And I think if you're going to be making chili, then it honestly needs to have its namesake in there. So we have these poblano chilies. We're also going to be putting in some chipotle and Tabasco and paprika. The chipotle is in this product right here, and it's fantastic. We'll get to that in just a minute. I have some onions here also. Now, as so you will know, on the proportions on these onions and poblanos, you're going to be looking for about 1.25 to 1.5 pounds of each of these to 3 pounds of chuck, okay? And we're going to take that chuck and grind it here in a little bit. In addition, you're going to be wanting garlic. We're looking at anywhere from 6 to 8 cloves of garlic. Back here, let's take a look at our spices. To flavor this up, to make it really good, we're going to be using, of course, some salt. And here's your measurements on this, and it's an easy way to remember. It's 1 to 2 tablespoons of salt, 3 tablespoons of cumin, 4 tablespoons of Tabasco brand chipotle sauce. It's much milder than their original sauce. 5 tablespoons of paprika, 6 to 8 cloves of your garlic, and then we're going to be putting in some olive oil, anywhere from roughly 1/4 to 1/2 cup of olive oil. And if you'll notice, I've got some beer up here. This one's for me, but this one goes in the chili. You don't have to put beer in your chili, folks. You get to put beer in your chili, but if you're going to do it, use a beer that's at least an amber or better, meaning an amber or darker. An amber, a porter, maybe nothing as dark as a stout, but possibly a bock. This will give you a good malty flavor to this dish. It's really tasty, and every bit of the alcohol cooks out when you do this right. Over here, Tomatoes. I have 30 ounces of diced tomatoes in their own juice, and I have 12 ounces of tomato paste. This is going to add acid to this dish. Now, some people might say, hey, real chili con carne does not have tomato in it. But guess what? I didn't say I was making chili con carne, did I? No, we are making Texas home-style chili with beans. So let's get on with this beautiful dish. We have to start by grinding up that meat. And so you will know, as I mentioned on the beans, just follow the package recipe on those guys. And once they're cooked up and ready to go, they're ready to go. We're going to be using some of their juice and all of the beans. Now guys, before we get into the full grind on our meat, I wanted to just talk to you about meat grinders. This is an old antique meat grinder. Believe it or not, the thing still works, okay? These things can be purchased in antique stores. You can purchase meat grinders online just like this. They still make the things, okay? And this is the basic of it. You don't have to get anything fancy. If you just want to try your first start at having a grinder, this is a neat way to go. But I tell you what, I think electric is great. And depending on the mixer you have, you may be able to get an attachment for it. They also make electric meat grinders, and they're not too pricey either. This is a great way to find out how your meat gets ground, but also knowing exactly what's in it. It's time that we get on with grinding up this meat. Now the grinder I'm using is one that fits as an attachment on my mixer, which, you know, when you have one of these mixers that'll handle a lot of attachments and that's really strong, it's great to have attachments like that because you can do so much without having a bunch of different machines. Let's go ahead and cut this down into pieces that'll fit into a grinder. And I'm just going to make this real simple. Be cutting some cross cuts here. I'm including all of the fat. And that's a good thing, guys. It's not a bad thing. I'm using chuck here. And chuck has a percentage of fat that seems to work really well when it comes to making good chili. So that's what we're getting out of this. Great. All I have to do now is get this fed into my mixer, or excuse me, my grinder. It's a mixer still. Now let's take a look at the business end of this. When you're using one of these guys, they're absolutely wonderful. I just start feeding the meat down the tube and let its auger take it on in. Guys, you want to stand to the side. Don't stand in front of that nozzle because sometimes it spits, meaning it's going to shoot blood out of it. And when it does that, it doesn't discriminate for whatever's in front of it. There we go. Isn't that nice? Let's get the rest of it shoved through there. And there we have it, guys. Beautiful. And you know exactly what is in your ground meat when you do your own grinding. It's also so much more delicate and soft. It comes out wonderful. And you get to grind the quality of beef that you want, whether it be, you know, select or choice or whatever. Beautiful meat transferred. Now guys, we have to prepare our vegetables, and that means doing some cutting and dicing and things like that. The chilies though, I want to go ahead and remove the skin from the outside of these chilies. I'm going to outline this for you so that you can kind of get a good idea of how to remove the skin from chilies. I'm going to put mine directly on the burner. Okay, if you have a gas stove, you can do that. If you want, you can put them under a broiler. And once they start blistering and they get good and hot, put them into a plastic bag, let them sweat for 8 to 10 minutes, and that skin will peel right off. You can put them on a grill, a gas grill, charcoal grill, it doesn't matter. Put them on a grill. That will also scorch that skin off. Any high direct heat will do the trick. So if you have a kitchen torch, that will work. All right? You don't have to scorch the skin off, but frankly, I don't really like having a lot of chili or pepper skin in my chili. Okay, it's just yuck. So I'm going to crank these burners up to full. You're going to hear them popping, and what that is it's the skin stretching, blistering, and snapping. This is going to put a beautiful odor in the air. However, I'm going to forewarn you, when you are preparing any kind of chilies in this way, not only is it going to put a beautiful odor in the air, but it's also going to release some of that capsaicin, and it can make your eyes burn. If you're not used to this, make sure that there is some good ventilation near where you're cooking. That way you don't have to worry too much about this. It'll make you cry the same way an onion will, basically, but it feels a little bit different because it's a pepper release. It's capsaicin. Now, on the bottom of this, if you'll notice, that chili has become blistered. It's changing color. And what I want to do is I'm going to scorch them. I'm going to turn them black all the way around. And then I'm just going to simply wash all of that off. I find this charring gives them a good flavor also. Now again, on your proportions, anywhere from 1 1/4 to 1.5 pounds of chilies and onions. You can use yellow, white, red onions. Any kind of onion you want works. You don't have to get virtually every single bit of the skin scorched off. I try to, but it's not something that is an absolute must, guys. So don't work yourself to death on this. Don't worry about these being right in the fire, guys. Chilies are very, very durable. They can handle heat for a long time. They do not burn easily. Now I'm going to show you the other method that I was talking about earlier when it comes to scorching off the skin. I have this torch over here, and I want to show you what I do on these. There we go. Anywhere you still have green, just go ahead and cook it off. So I'm just going to finish these off. They're mostly done. I'm doing the last one now. Now, in addition to, of course, burning the skin off of these, this does one other thing. It does a partial cook on the vegetable, which softens it slightly, makes it more pliable, and frankly, it makes it easier to work with. So essentially, you're making the food that you're working with easier to work with by doing this. Now guys, we need to get that skin removed from our poblanos. These are really easy to do. Just wash that skin off. I'm going to push my finger in the side and then pull back the crown to open them up and get them ready for cutting. So this is really simple. Not easy. It's already starting to split on the side. See there? All I have to do is just peel it back at the crown. It takes out that seed pod, crown, and all. Isn't that simple? It's seeded. It's been deskinned. That's now ready to go ahead and get cooked up. I just gotta cut it and cook it. If you would, do all of yours the exact same way, and we'll get caught up on the other side. Now, for those of you who are still watching this, that means that you're watching the cook-along version, because I only show you how to wash one of them, if it's a short version. The cook-along version, sometimes you get a little more information. So let me teach you something about chilies. If you're going to want to stuff a chili, you've given it the right start. Right here on one of these ridges, I'm going to push my finger in and pull down. See, it opens it up just like a knife. It'll just tear nice and beautiful. And you see up in the top there's a bunch of seeds, and this is the seed pod. If you simply reach in and squeeze that seed pod, those seeds pop off, and the whole thing will come loose, and you'll feel it pop loose. It's very distinct. Simply wash those seeds out, and then your chili is ready to stuff. That's all there is to it, guys. That's how you open one up to stuff, like for a chili relleno or something like that. Now that's the advantage of your cook-along tutorial. Of course, we're not doing it for that. We're cooking this into a chili. So again, get rid of the crown, done with it. You can chop that up if you want. It is good material. I just don't like having to spend the extra time to work that out when I can just move right on and cook what I need this way. Let's look at this one and see if it has a more intact seed pod than that last one I showed you. And it does. Look at that, guys. So let me show you this trick I mentioned to you before. Grab that seed pod, pinch it, and the seeds, they break loose. Now, these little veins that run down the side, don't pull down. It can tear the chili. Take the vein and pull up on it this way so it snaps it off. If you pull it down, like I said, you can open up the chili and then you're going to have 2 openings instead of 1. So again, there's your cook along tutorial advantage, how to get rid of those seeds for stuffing. Wasn't that easy? Isn't that cool? Now guys, something that you might want to know when it comes to handling chilies and peppers and things. You've seen me handle those bare-handed in the sink, and that's sometimes not too bad, but if you have sensitive hands, put on some gloves by all means. I'm putting on gloves now. When I cut these things, I like to have these things on. Also, I think that blue makes it easier for you guys to see what I'm doing. All right, now, and that's important because what I want to show you here is good quality, safe techniques for cutting. Now what we're going to do is we're going to dice these up, and I'm looking for little squares that are about the size of 3/8 of an inch to 1/2 of an inch. The larger size would be fine, especially being that this is a hearty style chili, so we can have a lot of stuff on it. So you'll know when it comes to how to handle knives and things like that. If you notice, I turn that away from me, and that way if I bump it, I don't cut myself. Sometimes, you know, you'll see me set it down like this, but I have been using these knives so long that I'm very accustomed to what I'm doing, and I know how to keep my hands far enough back from that edge. But as a good rule, it's good to keep it turned away from you like that or like that. Now, handling that knife, pinch the blade just like this, right in front of the handle at the back of the blade there, okay? Pinch it and wrap your fingers around it. And what this does, this gives you this magnificent control over the knife that prevents it from rolling, or sometimes it'll rock and roll in your hand like this. If you're holding it back here, when you pinch it, that stops happening. For the other hand, too many people I watch, and I see videos, people are on videos teaching others to cook, and they're holding food like this, and they're cutting, and I just cringe every time I see it. So what you want to learn to do is to learn to get these fingertips right here, get those little guys away from that edge. The way to do that is this: you take those fingers, instead of having them out, you turn them under, so the fingertips are actually pointing back. If you were holding a ball, that is the exact position, okay? They call this the crab technique because it looks like a crab. You move your hand like a crab in order to make your cuts, like this. And that center knuckle right here becomes your cutting guide for that side of that knife, forward and back and up and down. Because the fingertip is turned under, you don't have to worry about cutting yourself, okay? So remember this technique, and you will save yourself a lot of anguish in the long run, okay? So what I'm looking to do is to cut about 1/2 inch wide strips here, just like so. Isn't that nice? The other side. Now, if you'll notice, I will use my knife sometimes as a way to pick up or move food. If you're going to do that, make sure you keep that edge down and not up like this or even, because you can cut your hand. So it has to actually be turned down for this to work, for you to be able to manipulate food with it. So be careful. Again, fingers turned under. I got my thumb behind the fingers. Okay? Isn't that nice? And those fingers just wrap around over the vegetables. There we have these beautiful big dice, just like I was looking for. And that's going to make a wonderful chili. Go ahead, cut up all of your poblanos in this way. Another thing that you may see me do on my shows, and you want to be careful about this, guys. If you'll see me run my hand down my blade to remove food, and I'm doing this, it's not in contact with that cutting edge. My fingertips are actually curled up like this, and I'm doing that. So if you ever see me do that, don't take it the wrong way. I'm in contact with the back of that knife, not in the cutting edge of it. The safer way is to simply push food off or to rake the food off like that, okay? So if you guys would, just keep up with it, get them all cut up, and then we'll get on with cutting up those onions. Wow, that looks good. Yummy. Again, watching out for that edge, I'm simply turning the food over and getting the edge up and away from myself. Be careful if you mimic any of this. Like I said, I've been doing it a very long time. So using your knife to pick up food can be quite dangerous. Now, you're seeing me push my fingers directly at that edge. The edge, as I told you before, is turned down towards the board. That way I can't come in contact with the sharp portion and I can't cut myself. That takes time and training to get it right, guys. But once you do, your cutting skills will turn out exactly what you want every time. Okay, guys, what I want to show you here is going to be a mincing technique that is going to allow you, let me stop making noise here, to make perfect mince on an onion and to do so safely. The problem with an onion is it's hard, so it takes a little more pressure, a little more effort to cut it, unless of course your knife is just razor sharp, and it really needs to be. The sharper the knife, the safer the knife, and that's the truth, guys. You're less likely to slip with it and stab yourself. So that's the difference. When it comes to cutting an onion, the start, okay, I need to form a flat surface on this. I'm going to cut one of the ends, and I want to cut that stem end. When I'm handling onions, I intentionally leave that root end intact. I do that on purpose for one reason. The juices on an onion will flow quickly out this way, but very slowly out this way because of the way the onion's designed, okay? Because that's where it normally took juices in from, and it will normally drop them right back out the same way. Don't cut the root end, and you won't get as much of that sulfuric fume that makes you cry. Now, next thing, to get that outer skin off, let me take my knife. I can run it right up the side here. There we go. And I'll get that outer layer, a little troublesome layer that sometimes has dead spots in it. Now, on the side of the root, I'm going to make a straight cut down, just like that. And I'm going to turn it and do the exact same thing on the other side. So what I've done is I've turned my onion into 3 basically equal parts. I'm going to be making large dice this time, the same way we did with the poblanos. Now, remember, onions are round. They grow as a globe, each layer on top of each other. So to make dice in this part of my onion right up here, then I need to make cuts this way and this way. But the cuts this way and this way aren't going to affect what's happening down here on the side. So I need to cut the side this way first. Bring my knife in, put your fingers directly on top, gathered together just like this. Gently guide your knife through. You don't have to cut all the way. It doesn't hurt to leave it intact. It makes it easier to work with to do so. Turn that onion, make your down cuts. And these are the cuts that are running this way. And then we'll make our cuts this way and get our beautiful dice. There. There. Good wide dice. Look at that. Now, when I make my cross cuts, I will have a most perfect diced onion. Let me show you this, guys. Break this up a bit. Look at the size of onion pieces. If you're looking to win a contest on how to cut an onion, this is how to do it. This is how your best professional chefs do it right here. They get this perfect even dice that is absolutely flawless. There's a couple of long pieces. My cut didn't go all the way through. This is at the back where I didn't cut all the way. There we have it. Isn't that beautiful? Now, the other side of this that makes it nice, you don't have any big chunks of onion rolling around on you and being kind of unpredictable. There we go. When you see me put my finger on the other side of my knife, I'm holding my food in place. It is not in contact with the blade at all. I put it in contact with the board and the food, and I keep my blade in contact with the board until I'm well away from my fingers. This way there's no damage. Just like that. Isn't that nice? There we go. Now, this section, the center section, it's a little different to cut, okay? We still have to make that cross cut here to get our dice. We could have a really wide dice just by cross cutting, but there's these parts right in here that run this way, and I want to be able to get those diced out. So what I need to do is in the center of my onion, I need to make a couple of cross cuts. If you lose a little bit on the beginning like that, don't let it make you lose sleep, okay? The other thing, go in and half it right up to the root, but not through it. Use the root to hold it together. There it is, ladies and gentlemen. Do both of your onions this way. This way you have very little loss on material. You end up with a beautiful, beautiful item. Isn't that gorgeous? I'm going to place my onions right on top of those chilies, because all of this goes into that pot at the same time. Now again, I have the blade toward me. You see me running my finger. See how my hand is arched? I'm in contact with the back edge of that knife, but not the blade. That's dangerous as all get out, guys. Okay, it really is. I've had enough practice that I don't cut myself that way anymore, but it took me decades to get there. Be much easier with it, more safe by pushing food off of your blade like this or like that. That's the safer method. Just rake it off. Okay, I'm going to do that other onion, a beautiful red. Yes, sir. Take out that adder. I saw a little brown in the core of this. So if you've got that problem, just remove it. It's taken care of. Alright guys, I wanted to get a little more up close and personal about the technique I'm about to show you when it comes to mincing garlic. This is really cool. First thing we have to do is to remove the scab and the paper from these. I've done it on that one. Here's an easy way for you to try to remove the paper from your garlic. I just give it a simple twist, not so hard that it breaks the clove inside, but what that does is it just simply breaks that paper free. Isn't that neat? Another one. And you'll feel it kind of flex, and you'll feel it pop and snap, and when it does, it's loose. The next thing we need to do is to remove that scab. Remember that knife holding and cutting techniques. Keep the fingers back and gently cut the scab off of each one of these. There we go, guys. They're out of our way. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to crush this garlic. The reason I do this, there's only one reason. That keeps the thing from bobbing around when I'm trying to cut it. Okay? I don't want that happening when I'm trying to cut it. I need it to be stable. So I crush it first. The fibers in your garlic clove run end to end. So run the fibers running this way, sideways, to your cut. And if you'll notice, I'm just using the back of the knife, the side and the back edge, and keeping my hand away from that business end. You always got to watch that. The technique I'm about to show you, this is really cool, guys, and once you've learned it, you get good at it, you can get really fast at mincing garlic, and it's not that tough. You'll need a knife, first of all, that's offset from its handle, just like this, so that edge sets down, a half inch or more from the handle itself. This is important because we're going to be using a rocking technique, and it needs that offset to rock properly, okay? Also, the length of the blade. If you have a real long chef's knife, if you notice I switched to a shorter blade. This works better with a shorter blade. This is a simple 8-inch blade. Works great. My 12-inch blade is a bit much. Now, the next thing, I'm going to make a gentle rocking motion just like this. And if you'll take note of the way I'm holding that handle, I didn't hold it the way I told you earlier. You could hold it like this, yes. You most certainly can. And you can do this one-handed this way. But the technique I'm showing you is a different one. This one requires you putting your fingers up here. Keep that thumb turned under, like so. Fingers on the back of the knife. Get this hand back a little bit and make that rocking motion. Isn't that trick? Now there is a really rough mince. Let's make that a little finer. Now guys, that's a lot of garlic to mince out, right? If you're saying, hey, my garlic press is faster, you're right. Garlic press is a whole lot faster. However, cleaning the garlic press out afterwards is a whole lot slower than washing off a knife. There's a bit of an offset there. There you go, you just get medieval on it, folks. Now I'm probably driving the autofocus on my camera insane, so if it's blurring on you a little bit, I apologize. When my hand gets going fast, it thinks it's blurry and it tries to focus it. Okay, there we have a nice mince. I'm just going to get this off in another dish. Looky there, guys. That wasn't so hard, was it? Didn't take very long, did it? And I've got a very even mince. You can see from the particles that my mince, though it may not be perfect, is pretty darn even. Okay. That's ready for my chili. Yummy. It's time for us to get on with making our chili. I have just put a flame underneath this pot which I have placed, of course, the beef, as you saw earlier, and all of the vegetables. I just poured them right down in there. Now, it's important when you start cooking this dish to go ahead and have those vegetables ready to put down in the meat. That's the reason you saw all of this prep going on long before any cooking was happening. We had to get everything ready. In the French tradition of cooking, they would call this garde-manger work, meaning it was cold prep work. And that's what the garde-manger position is. He does cold prep, and he gets everything ready for cooking in pots like this. Sometimes salad bar kind of stuff gets done by the garde-manger, as well as pâtés and preparations like that. Anything that is cold or stays cold is always done by that guy. Now, we've got all of our prep done, and we have a setup method ready to go. So everything is set up and ready here. When you start cooking this, let's go ahead and break out some olive oil. There we go. Heat's in our pot. Put in some olive oil here. The meat's got enough fat probably for it, but those vegetables need a little bit of something. Now I'm just going to keep stirring this every few minutes, about, every 5 to 8 minutes. I'll open the lid and go at it. Our other ingredients pretty much all ready to go. I need to go ahead and open up that bottle of beer. You do not have to have this, like I said before, but you get to have it, and it does add a richness to this. It adds a maltiness to it that's very, very good. And I love it that way. And if you're worried about that alcohol, as I mentioned to you earlier, the alcohol all gets cooked out. So don't be afraid of that. Isn't that beautiful looking, guys? Oh, I can't wait. All right, just keep browning that meat. When the meat is browned all the way through and we don't see any pink or red from it, that's when we're going to get on to adding in some of our other ingredients. Remember to stir occasionally, every 5 to 10 minutes. Actually, I do it about 5 to 8, but keep it around 5 to 10 at least and get that browned up. Okay guys, let's take a look down in here. Oh, look at that. I have lowered my heat to a medium. Now the meat itself is brown all the way through, but as you can see, these onions are still a little bit on the white color side, and I want to get them just slightly more translucent. So I'm going to give this, about another 10 minutes. Just keep that lid on it. 10 more minutes. Now guys, we've come to the point where I've got that translucency that I needed in those onions. It's just perfect. Okay, so the meat's brown. The onions have become a nice light translucent. Great. All I need to do now is get the other ingredients in this and get them started up. I'm going to start with those tomatoes. And the next thing I want to add is that tomato paste. And we're just going to work it throughout it, and then we're going to try to get it hydrated out, okay? Now the tomatoes and tomato paste, what that does for a chili like this, it has acid in it, first of all, and that acid is bringing flavor to the surface. It's allowing your tongue to recognize flavors in the pot that normally it may have not noticed as well, and it brings just brings together a pot of chili. Let's go ahead and put that garlic in there. Oh yeah. Earlier I mentioned about a tablespoon of salt to 2 tablespoons. Well, that's about 1. And we're going to start right there. We'll put in that beer. Let that get all foamy. Now, so you'll know, alcohol boils at a much, much lower temperature than does water. So what's going to happen here is that alcohol, right now, it's starting to boil. That's what you're hearing. The alcohol is going to release in a vapor first before the water does. And as it does so, it just kicked off into the air. In a little bit here, there will be no alcohol left in this pot because it will have all evaporated right out. So don't be afraid of the alcohol that goes in there from your beer bottle. So 1 to 2 tablespoons with the salt. Next, we're going to put our cumin in here. And yes, I can do this accurately with my hand. Now, I learned this after a period of time. And that was, when I was a kid, I would practice this. And what I would do is I would measure first into a spoon and put it in my hand. And do that over and over and over again until I learned to recognize it. And then I, over a period of time, would then do it in my hand, but occasionally measure it, just to make sure I was still dead on. And over the years, sure enough, I got to where I could measure dead on every single time in my hand. Sometimes it's not too practical, okay? Like right now, I'm going to put some of this Tabasco, Chipotle flavored Tabasco sauce. I normally don't like to tout brand names, guys, but this stuff, it's the real deal and it's good. 1, 2, 3, 4. I am going to wash off any of the excess right down here in that chili. Our next item was paprika, and it was 5 tablespoons of paprika. Yummy. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that's going to give this chili a beautiful red color in addition. It's all about flavor. We're wanting to keep all of the flavor we can in here. So I'm going to put some of my bean juice right down in there. In a little bit, we're going to put the beans in there, but not now. See, remember, they were already cooked. So all I have to do is bring them up in temperature within the chili after I get this cooked up. Now I have a nice moist condition in here. We're going to give it time for all of those ingredients to work together and cook. After those goodies are cooked up, then we're going to be enjoying. Now also, in just a little bit here, I'm going to show you how to sliver an onion. And so that's going to be one more knife technique that you're going to get to learn. And I'll show you how to make those paper thin little bitty slivers of onion that, oh man, are so cool to put over the top of dishes. I brought this up to a nice boil over medium heat. Once you get it like this, guys, go ahead, give it one last stir. There we go. Look how hearty that is. We haven't even put the beans in. Okay, now I'm going to cover this and I'm going to reduce my temperature to low. At this point, I'm going to let this go ahead, sit here and simmer. It will be simmering for about 30 to 40 minutes. That's just fine. That's a perfect amount of time. Then we're going to put our beans in there. After those go in, we're going to simmer it once again another 30 to 40 minutes. At that point, that chili's ready to go. So we have a beautiful, hearty, well-stocked chili. Gorgeous color to it. Fabulous flavors. You should smell this right now, guys. It's unbelievable smelling. Oh, I love making chili. So it's a matter of waiting now. This is when you get to kind of kick back and relax. Okay, guys, our chili has now had right at 30 minutes of simmer time on it. Okay. It's now time for me to put those beans in there. Whole thing. I'm going to once again bring my temperature back up to a medium, and I'm going to keep it there until those beans and the rest of this comes back up to a nice simmer, and then I'll take that temperature back down and we're going to do another cook on it, and it's going to be another 30 to 40 minute cook. And at this point, that's when you're really developing the full flavor on this, because you're getting the flavor of the beans and the flavor of all that other stuff. And the longer it's marrying and cooking and simmering in there, the better the flavors get, guys. They just get richer and fuller, and it's fantastic. So right now it's just a matter of we need to be patient, and this will get all fixed up and cooked up. It is now time for me to show you how to make your slivered onions. So you will know what we're going to be doing here is combining some of the techniques that you've already learned previously in this very same video. To do our slivered onions, the first thing I want to do is, just as I did before, I want to make a downward slice next to the root of my onion. This doesn't have to be a really thick piece. Something like that's just perfect. As you saw earlier, I had my fingers turned under, just like so, and I had my knife gliding up and down on the side of my fingers. Well, I'm going to be doing that this time, but I'm going to be using a more rapid movement with my knife. The movement I'll be using is more like this. And it's just sort of a steady tapping is what you're looking for. And after you have established that movement and you got it ready to go, then this hand gets into action. So you've got your motion going, and then this hand just slowly, very gently creeps its way back, just like this. And the slower you move, the thinner the slices will be. So the idea there is to just barely creep those fingers, and it will make a beautiful slivered onion for you. So sometimes my autofocus just goes wacky when I do stuff like this. Hopefully it won't this time. There we go. Beautiful, fine slivered onions, guys. This is just perfect. Just what we wanted. It makes a beautiful garnish on top of your chili. That's all there is to making a slivered onion. Just remember, steady rhythm and gently creep those fingers back. The slower you move, the thinner those slices get. And those are just like paper. Beautiful. Our chili has had plenty of time to simmer now. It has thickened up the way it should. It's a beautiful, hearty, thick chili. Oh, I can't wait. I love chili. Right now it is storming outside. So there's been rain and lots of lightning and hail, and it's just going at it. So while that's going at it out there, we'll go at this in here. Take a look at this, guys. I think we should dress it up a little bit. Let's put some cheese. You know what? I just love cheese when it comes to my chili. But also, those slivered onions. There we go. Beautiful. Beautiful home-style chili, nice and hearty, with slivered onions and cheese. Oh, guys, oh man, I can't wait. This stuff is just delicious. Beautiful, beautiful hearty bowl of chili. Oh man, it's a bowl of flavors what this is. Oh man, this is the bomb. Oh, dudes. Oh. The flavors, this complex, beautiful harmony of flavors. The chili's nothing hot, it's not burning my tongue, but it is spicy. It's rich and full-bodied. It's got good flavor to it. That tomato brings out so many other flavors. Acid in it. It works. It works so good. This is one of those recipes that's just off the hook good. And guys, if you haven't tried chili recipes like this before, you really need to give this one a shot. You're gonna love it. I would like to say thank you very much to my viewers, all of you. To my subscribers, guys, extra special thank you to you. And folks, if you haven't subscribed, well, please do, and click the bell. It'll give you a reminder when my recipes come out. I've got great recipes coming, wonderful techniques, and shows that are just off the hook good, as you've seen here. So if you would, please share my videos. And you folks, well, to you, you have a good day.